All right, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Francesca Span. I'm the Director of New Student Orientation, and it is my pleasure to introduce you all to the College Advising Center for today's webinar, The Liberal Arts and Academic Offerings. You are in for a treat and you're going to learn a lot. I'm going to pass it over to Katie McFadden from the College Advising Center to take it away. Katie?
Thanks, Francesca. I'm Katie McFadden, Director at the College Advising Center. I'm going to share my screen here so we can get started. Great. So today's session will be recorded and the video will be put up on the NSO website once it's ready. Welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm joined here by the other team members in the College Advising Center, Katie Lemon, wave, yep, Heather Miner, and Catherine Leibel. So throughout the presentation, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A, and Katie, Heather, and Catherine are going to be helping answer those questions as we go. I do have some slides and some content I was going to share, but there's definitely going to be time for more Q&A at the end as well. So we want to save space here for you to get your questions answered as we all prepare for registration later this month. All right, so who are we? I'm going to talk about the advising model we have a little bit. All of you are matched with one of us in the College Advising Center, with me, Heather, Katie, or Catherine, and we follow you all the way through till graduation. So we're the ones emailing you this summer about onboarding and preparing for fall, and you can come meet with us in the future if you want to make a four-year plan, if you want to talk through a big academic decision, maybe like declaring your major, or you just want a second opinion on, an academic decision of some kind. Now, transfer students, you've already been matched with a faculty advisor, which is someone in your area of interest. And first-year students, you are going to be matched with a faculty advisor later this summer. That's the person you meet with at orientation, and it's the person you meet with before each semester's registration to talk about class options. So they're kind of your main advising contact moving forward, until the point you declare a major, and then the faculty advisor is swapped out for a faculty member in the major that you declare. So this is our advising model. I really like it. I think it's designed to give you multiple points of contact and support along the way, and maybe some different perspectives too. All right, so what does it mean to study at a liberal arts college? I hope I don't have to convince you that studying the liberal arts is a great choice, since you've all chosen to attend Lewis and Clark. You've probably heard this before, but studying the liberal arts is going to give you a very valuable set of skills like critical thinking, writing, presenting, that are going to translate to just about any postgraduate path you could take, a whole range of careers, graduate schools. And because we are trying to prepare you for such a broad number of paths, you won't hear faculty and advisors at Lewis and Clark talk about majors in a way that equates them directly with a specific career. And sometimes I think that throws students for a loop a little bit. So I just wanted to talk really openly about it, that I think some students expect there to be more of a linear relationship between major and career. And that's because, it throws them for a loop a little bit because the equation is more complex than your major equals one specific career, or its opposite. Your major has nothing to do with your career. The truth is somewhere in between those two dichotomies. It's a little more complex than that. Your major might impact what you go on to do after graduation. It's going to influence it, but so will a range of other connections and opportunities at Lewis and Clark. Things like the extracurriculars you get involved in, networking, internships, campus jobs you hold, hobbies and interests outside the classroom, classes you take for fun or with your favorite professors, research, and then just reflection and conversations you have with your mentors. All of that is going to come together to kind of shape what you do after college, not just your major. You do not have to have this all figured out right now, and certainly not this summer. You have time, and there are a lot of people and resources at Lewis and Clark to help you figure out in the coming semesters what this equation looks like for you. There are people and resources. There's also time and space. So each of you needs 128 credits to graduate. And that is roughly broken down into three parts. Your major will use up about a third of those credits, and you'll need to spend about a third of those credits on general education. that leaves an entire third of the pie for electives. And electives is short for anything you want to take, honestly. I think this is where some students feel compelled to fit in another major or a minor, but I think it's even more common and maybe even advisable to use that space to really explore different majors. Take advantage of overseas study, maybe 2 overseas study programs, take classes again with favorite faculty you've had. So that's your chance here. We've built it in by design to really try out some different things and have space to sort out your path and figure out what you want to do. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to go through those 3 parts in more detail, starting with general education. So general education, or Gen Ed, as we often call it, is designed to help you explore the breadth of the Lewis and Clark curriculum. Each of these requirements has a whole list of classes that you can choose from. And so in that way, you get to design a little bit according to your interests on how you navigate through Gen Ed. Sometimes first-year students especially they have an idea that they need to finish Gen Ed as soon as possible. They'll even say that to me, Katie, I want to get this done right away, or all in my first year. And you really don't have to do that. As long as you're making some steady progress, you have until graduation to complete these requirements, and you can have a little time to do that. You also might be surprised to learn how many of the requirements get fulfilled almost on accident. You might take something just because you're interested in it and not realizing it fulfills a Gen Ed category. Transfer students, depending on the number of semesters you have left, you may need to be a little more mindful of what you have left to fulfill, but you also probably have general education categories fulfilled already with your transfer credit. Core is the one Gen Ed requirement I'll touch on specifically, and that's because it's the only one that for first-year students there is a timetable on. You do need to complete it the first year. Core, which involves words and numbers, those are each a 4-credit class. You'll take one of them in fall, and then you'll do the other one in spring. They are small, faculty-led classes, seminars. They're designed to teach analytical, reading and writing skills that will be really important for the other coursework you do at Lewis and Clark. And transfer students, this is waived for you. You do not need to take core. All right, so let's talk about the major part of the pie a little bit. How would you go about choosing a major then, or getting started on choosing a major? As I said earlier, I would not go into this thinking that by choosing a major, you're choosing a career for the rest of your life. It's not true. And I think it also adds a lot of stress to the equation for most students where they just feel a little stuck. Instead, I would think about this as, what's something I'm interested in trying? And the ideal major will be obviously something of interest in a department where you feel at home and with some faculty who you enjoy working with. So for first year students, I think a good goal for this year is just to try some things out that you'd like to try and see what they're like at the college level and what you really find, what you have some passion for. Again, transfer students, depending on the time left till graduation, you might need to hone in on a major a little sooner, but you probably still have room to explore a little bit. That's something you can talk about with your faculty advisor or with us. And it's really normal to try some things out and end up not going down the path you expected to. So I know everyone says, oh, it's really common to change your major, but it is. It really, really is, especially at Lewis and Clark. So keep an open mind about that, and you might be surprised by what you end up feeling most at home with. So given the parts we talked about here, 128 credits, you need space for a major, Gen Ed, but also exploration, I thought I'd show a sample first year schedule. And transfers, I apologize, I can't generalize in the same way and do a sample schedule for you. It's just a little bit too specific given how many transfer credits you might be bringing in and what you're majoring in. But for first years, we like to tell first years, of course, you'll have core, 1 4-credit class there. And then we recommend trying a couple classes in majors that you want to try, that you want to explore. Or maybe 1 major class and 1 general education class. For example, a common one is language. So a lot of students want to continue their language study from high school so they don't have a lapse, just keeps it fresh. So that might be a common one, especially if you want to study overseas. And then for a fourth class, take something just for fun. And by that, I mean, maybe there's a class, a subject you didn't get the chance to try in high school, and we offer it, and you've always wanted to try it. Or you've heard really good things about a certain professor, and you want to try out their class. Pick something in there where you're just really excited to take the class. And I think that gives you a nice balance for fall on what to take there. And if you do that, 4 classes, 4 credits each, maybe 5 credits if one of them is a lab, you'll have about 16 to 18 credits for fall, which is right where you want to be. Because if you take 16 credits 8 times, each semester, you end up with 128 after 4 years. So that's why we recommend about 16 credits each semester. So we figure some of you, or maybe a lot of you, are going to be eager to kind of get started on this level of planning where you're looking at class options for fall and starting to develop a list of classes. So I wanted to hop on over to the website and show you a few pages that will help with that. From the homepage, you can just type in advising, and we're the first result. Before I show those pages, I'll highlight quickly, Juan Carlos is our summer alum ambassador. Juan Carlos graduated in spring, and he graciously agreed to continue on with us this summer to help with some onboarding, including a bunch of Instagram Live events that Juan Carlos will be hosting in the coming month. So here on our homepage, you can find the dates and the links for those events, as well as the webinar for July 21st, our second webinar. So here's a great place to stop in, check it out. And Juan Carlos's first Instagram event is tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see you there. Back up here on the homepage, we have a section for incoming transfer students and first-year students. Each of them has an FAQ that, I've been telling advisees, I would just take 20 minutes and read through the FAQ because you're going to feel so much better after doing it. This is really a place where we've put together all the most common questions we get from students coming into the college, and they're all answered in one place. And I think reading through it is just going to help you feel more confident and comfortable with what you're doing in the coming month. So there's one of those for transfers and one for first years. There's also a how to register page with some of the nuts and bolts on how to get started there. Before you do that though, I think this one, getting started in a major or minor, is really nice. It's basically a cheat sheet for answering the question, what should I take in fall if I'm interested in exploring this particular area? We've asked all the departments for their advice. So for example, let's say you want to try art history. Art history has said, okay, if you're interested in majoring in art history or seeing what it's about, we recommend Art 100 or one of these classes. And this is a good place for me to also highlight that any class you see that has F1 in the title like this, that's a signal that it's appropriate for first years. So I think sometimes first year students assume that a 200 level class isn't for them. But if you see this F1, it means the department's trying to signal, well, it's appropriate for first years, you can take that. So this page is a nice place, I think, to start and just go through, click through your interests and kind of make a list of classes you might want to try for fall. There's also a page about placement exams. I know the deadlines for those are coming up a little more than a week. Yep. And so if you click on here, you can read more about the placements and get the links to them if you'd like. And some specific advice for math, science, or environmental studies majors, which if that pertains to you is a nice compilation all in one place of things to keep in mind. And then I'm a visual person, so if you're like me and you like to see something and how it works, not just read about it, there's a few videos on our video library that walk you through the steps for registration that might help as you go about getting into WebAdvisor and starting to look at classes and maybe put them in your preferred list. I'm going to pause there because those are the slides I wanted to go through, and maybe we can open it up if there's some questions coming in, if anybody has any. And you also have Francesca on this call, so Francesca, the director of NSO, would be able to answer other questions as well. Or Catherine, Katie, or Heather, if you have questions coming in from advisees you've gotten by email too, we could answer those, I suppose.
I just realized I was muted. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Miner. I've been sending out a lot of emails to my advisees this week about placement tests, since that's coming up soon. And one of the questions that I've been getting is that I have AP or IB credit that may qualify to waive the ALEKS, or I took a Spanish class at a Running Start program. Could you talk a little about that, Katie?
Yeah, placements in light of transfer credit that might be coming in. Yeah. I think that the first question I've been the first thing I've been asking a student is, do you plan to major in something that will require math or science in fall right away? So if you're planning on majoring in chemistry, physics, computer science, math, you would want to take some math and science classes right away. In that case, it may be helpful to take the math placement next week, just to take it and see how you score, just in case you don't get the AP or IB score you were hoping for, or just in case your class doesn't transfer quite the way you wanted, it would be nice to take the placement. If you're not planning on majoring in anything STEM related, you could probably just wait and see how the AP score goes, or see how the transfer credit goes, because it's not critical for you to take something in math or science right away in fall. So that's almost how I would answer that one. If you did have that Running Start credit or dual enrollment credit, transfer credit of some kind, make sure you send the transcript to our registrar's office. Just because it's transcripted on your high school transcript is not the same thing. If you have college level work, you need to send that college level transcript to the registrar. So the way to do that is to, usually I think it's easiest if you Google transcript request and the name of the college where you took the class. It's going to take you right to the page where these schools almost always have an electronic transcript sending method. It's just like a website they partner with to do that really simply and easily. So transcript request, name of the school, and you can send it to registrar to see if you can get evaluated for credit. Okay, so I see a couple, there's a question I'm going to answer. So someone's asking, here we go. For choosing classes, are all classes scheduled for the entire year, or are there some that are scheduled for just one semester? Oh yes, great question. When you are registering for classes at the end of this month, you are registering for fall only. And I know for some of you that's not how things worked at high school, or you're not sure, but you're choosing fall classes only. Even some classes we have that are designed to be all year, like general chemistry is a sequence that has a fall and spring part. They're designed to go together. You're still only registering for just the fall section of that class. Later in early November, you'll be registering for spring classes. Someone's asking if there's any way to get language credit or continue taking a language that isn't offered at Lewis and Clark, like American Sign Language. Did you answer that? Good. Yep. Mm-hmm. Katie Lemon wrote, yep, talk to your advisor about this. That's what I would recommend too. There is a way that you can take classes at another school in a language we don't offer, but the other school does, and transfer that over. But I think you'd want to talk with one of us about the pros and cons of that, just to make sure you know what you're getting into. Okay, so Francesca's asking another great question about those transcripts, which is how will you know if it's been received by the registrar's office? So what I have been told by registrar and some advisees is when you're electronically sending a transcript from another college to us, you can see in the system whether or not it's been opened and whether or not it's been received. So you'll be able to see when we get it and get confirmation of that. After registrar processes the credit, you'll get an email. They will email you and they'll copy us in the advising center and they'll say, here's how your credit transfers, here's what it counts for, and here's what it doesn't. These are all such good questions. We're just kind of working our way through it. If we submitted college transcripts as part of our application for admission, do we need to send them again specifically to registrar? Ooh, good question. If you submitted college transcripts to admissions, admissions is getting them to registrar. After they receive them, they walk them over to the registrar's office. So you should not have to resend them to registrar. It's a very good question. Oh, someone said they tried to add courses to their shopping cart ahead of time in WebAdvisor, but it did not let them. I don't think you need to wait until registration day. It's possible you did it early enough, so early that things weren't quite set up for you in WebAdvisor. I'm tempted to tell you to try again, like this week, and see how it goes. And loop back to us if you have problems. I wouldn't wait till registration day, because a little prep and getting them in your cart will be helpful. Yeah, give that one another try. Is there a deadline for sending AP scores? Yes. You have to send in that credit within a year. Now, most of you will want to send it earlier than that because you might be wanting an AP score to come in that will serve as a prereq for something that you want to take in fall, in which case send it right away, send it this summer. But you actually do have the first year to send in AP credit, dual enrollment credit, things like that. What's up, Heather?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted. My day is going great.
I took the language placement exam and placed in the 200 level. I saw on the Lewis and Clark website, there's a second test to confirm. When is that? Ooh, Francesca, can you answer that one?
Yes, I can. You are going to be able to take language placement exams in person during the first day of orientation. So we will have that on the NSO schedule for you to confirm those test scores in our DUBOC lab.
Okay, I'm gonna send that. That's specifically for people who place high enough on the test that they are essentially testing out of the requirement, right? And then only for those students is there that second in-person, at orientation. Okay, so someone is asking if a course you register for ends up filling up and you don't get a spot, what are the logistics for registering for a different class? Which is a great question. And I'm glad you asked it. Some classes might fill up. Some classes are very high demand. They might. You can talk with one of us this summer if there's certain classes you want to take and maybe get some advice about what will fill fastest and which one you should prioritize on the 28th. Because on the 28th, you get to register for one class, and on the 30th, you get to register for the rest. So on the 28th, you want to register for the class that is the one you want to take the most, or maybe the one you want to take and it's most likely to fill, or maybe there's only one section of it, so you really want to take it. If a class fills, you can wait list for it. It's a feature in WebAdvisor where you can add yourself to the wait list. You should always add yourself to the waitlist first, and then you can register for a backup if you want. It's nice to have some backup options ready to go in your preferred list in WebAdvisor for registration day, just in case something fills, and then it's really easy to register for a backup class. If a seat opens from the waitlist, you'll get an email letting you know, oh, a spot opened on the waitlist, would you like it? And you have 48 hours to go into WebAdvisor and take that spot, switch things around if you have to and take the waitlist spot. If you take no action, they'll just move to the next person on the waitlist in 48 hours. Okay. Oh, someone said, how are your guys' days going? That's so nice. This is great because we get to hang out with all of you and answer all these questions. This is fun. That's very nice. Well, can classes fill up before registration? Before registration, that's an interesting one. Students, continuing students, sophomores, juniors, seniors, they registered for fall back in April. So some classes might have filled, but really high demand classes are classes that we want first years to be able to get seats in. The department saves seats. So those seats appeared middle of last month, a couple weeks ago. So if you checked classes really early, like in May, you might have seen some classes were full. And then now there's some seats available. It's because those saved seats were put in. But occasionally I do get first year students say like, hey, who are all these people in these classes? I haven't even registered yet. You have to remember the returning students already registered in April. Even so, there are class seats for you, but that's why some of those seats are showing as taken. Is registration first come, first serve? Oh, somebody got that one. Good.
Sorry, I did grab that question, but that's something that other people might be wondering about as well, about if classes are first come, first serve. So everybody is assigned a registration time in WebAdvisor, a window, and you can look at it in WebAdvisor underneath registration permissions. And we recommend hopping on WebAdvisor and going to your shopping cart and registering for those classes at the very beginning of your registration window on July 28th and 30th. But we will also be talking more about this in the next webinar in more detail.
Mm-hmm. Good. If you place below a 52 in the math exam, oh, somebody got that one. Good.
I don't know. Do you want to answer that for everybody just in case? It might be.
Yeah. I can go to it.
Here, I can read it. If you place below a 52 on the math exam, which is the ALEX exam, but aren't planning on majoring in STEM, would it make sense to try again and retest to get above 52, 53 or above?
I would say yes. I think it can be helpful. If you're not planning on majoring on anything related to STEM, you'll still need to take one natural science class for general education. And the list of natural science classes includes a lot of classes that will require a 53 on the ALEX as a prerequisite. So if you can study in ALEX and take it one more time, I'm sure you could probably get a 53. And that will be just enough that you'll have more options available for the natural science requirement. There are a couple natural science classes that don't require a 53 on the ALEX, but because of that, they're in very high demand and there aren't a lot of them. So, some semesters it might be that one class that doesn't have the prereq conflicts with a class you have to take for your major. So it's nice to have a few more options available to you. And because of that, I generally tell someone, yeah, you're really close. I think if you study in the ALEX, you can get above a 53 and it'll just open more options for you later.
It will, and this goes back to what Katie was saying before about being open to your interest changing, because just because right now you may not think that you're interested in taking geology or nutrition or biology, after being in college for a year, you might change your mind. And so that ALEX score of 53 or above, once you have that in the system, it stays good until you graduate. And so if, say, junior year, you want to take climate science, you can go for it because you have that score in place.
Mm-hmm.
I will just second that as someone who has many friends who, oh, I don't know about the ALEX exam. You want to take it before and leave those doors open in case a really fun class or one of your favorite professors just so happens to be teaching a class that you could have gotten into had you had your prereq met.
Yeah. And related, someone is asking, do soft sciences fall under STEM here? I think we're getting enough into the specifics with that question. I would just ask one of us. I'd email whichever one of us you've been emailing with, you're assigned to, just kind of clarify what math is required for the majors you're thinking about. Sometimes students are a little surprised by math that might be required for a major they're interested in. So. Okay, let's see here. If we aren't a STEM major, should we be seriously studying for the ALEX? Oh, again, I think it's nice to get above a 53. So if you can study to the point that you do that, that's helpful. If you score a 76 or above, you can place into calculus, but calculus is not needed for most majors, you know? So if you're not interested in anything STEM, I think above a 53 is a good threshold to get to. I don't know that you necessarily need to go above that, except for the reasons Heather described. I have had students come in and think, you know, I'm going to major in like classics or German or Spanish. And after taking that initial core class with a math faculty, they get interested and now they want to study it. You know, they want to take some more classes. So you never know. How do we register for classes or start that process now? So registration is not until the end of the month, but you can prepare now by doing some of the things on this website that we talked about, or after you review this website, you can be in touch with us, with your advisor, talk more specifics. But if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you're not sure where to start, I would go to first year or transfer, whichever is you, on our website, read the FAQ, and read Getting Started in a Major or Minor. That's just going to be a nice foundation. And then you can use your time with us if you schedule a meeting to really go in depth on your particular interests or particular questions you have. So we're getting lots of questions about the ALEX test. If I didn't get above a 52 on the second try of the ALEX, will I have opportunities to retake it in fall? First, I should clarify, you can actually retake it a third time this summer, right? Yes, you can take it a third time this summer. And you can retake it in the fall as well. So all is not lost. Heather's back. I got it right, Heather? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes, definitely got it right. But I would say, know thyself. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't really want to take a math test over the summer, then, or doesn't really want to spend the time studying over the summer in the learning modules, I feel for you. It's not fun necessarily if you're not a math person, but if you're not feeling like it now, you probably won't feel like it in the fall either. So now is really the time to do it. And then you don't have to worry about it in the fall or ever again.
That's a good point. Because I'll study later for that placement is something I hear students tell themselves a lot. But I hear it more during the year where people feel like they have to study before they take the language placement in something. Do results from placement exams automatically fill prereqs or do we have to confirm them? Ooh, good question. They do automatically fill. It takes a couple days to get in the system though, so that's why we mark the deadline as July 15th for those placements, because if you took the language placement the night before registration, that info would not be in WebAdvisor in time to let you register for the section you need. So that's why it's important to do the placements by July 15th. So there's some lead time there, but it is going to be coded into colleagues so that you can do the next class, based on your placement level.
We've got a question about stats that you might want to answer. If you have AP stats credit, make sure you get into, and you're thinking about going into economics or psychology, speak with your advisor about the best way forward. You don't need, the students who have AP or IB stats credit do not need to take the intro level stats in those majors, but you'll definitely want to talk with your advisor about your particular situation.
Mm. Well, I did my language placement exam last week, but in my Pioneer portal, it says I have not done it. Is there anything I need to do? Yeah, email us and we can just follow up. We'll make sure something didn't get missed. It's common for there to be a couple day delay, but last week, if you took it late last week, we might still be on that delay. There's no problem just emailing us to double check. Sorry I missed the date. When do we find out who our advisor is? Okay, so you should have been receiving emails from one of us, College Advising Center. So you should know who in our office you're assigned to. And then the faculty advisor will be assigned later in August. You'll know before orientation because you'll meet with them at orientation. For high school transcripts, when should our Pioneer portal be updated that it was received? I think that is pretty quick turnaround, and admissions handles that. The admissions office receives high school transcripts and marks the portal. So if you feel like the delay is long enough, you're a little concerned, I would write to admissions, admissions@oclark.edu. Mm-hmm. Catherine, are you able to answer this question about the ALEKS test?
Yeah, I can. So what is the lowest score we can have on the ALEKS exam and still be eligible to register for classes? So your ALEKS score is not going to impact your ability to register for classes, but it will impact your ability to register for a course that has a certain ALEKS score as the prerequisite, like Katie was talking about earlier. Let's see, is it possible to take the ALEKS again without completing the study modules? So you do need to spend some time with the prep for learning, or sorry, prep for calculus learning module between your first and second ALEKS attempts. There's also, a cool off period after the first exam of 48 hours. So over that time or a little bit longer, you can spend that 8 hours studying. Should you need to take it for a third time, reach out to your college advisor and we can talk to you a little bit more about that. But no, you do need to spend some time with the learning modules before you take it for the second time.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was remembering. I'm just going to make sure.
Can I just add something real quick that all the natural sciences except for Bio 100 are going to have a 53 requirement, the ALEKS score, of a 53 in order to register for those. However, we do have a QR 101 course that the minimum requirement for that is a 30. But we always encourage you guys to take it twice, right? Like the goal of that class is kind of to teach you how to pass the ALEKS exam. So if you're in the mid 40s to low 50s, that class really isn't going to be suited for you. So definitely take it again and try to get that 53. However, 30 will allow you to take a course.
Someone's asking, I'm kind of torn between a double major or shifting one to a minor. Is there anyone in particular I can talk to about it? You're welcome to talk to us about that kind of question. We love talking with students about that kind of stuff. We do it all the time. I would say for fall, just try history in class. Like just try both. In fact, this whole year, you could try a little bit of history and classics and just keep kind of reevaluating the question. And then you're going to have time later this year, next year, to decide, do I want to push both of these forward to a double major? So I want to back one off to a minor. You know, the majors and minors often start the same way. So you can decide later how far you want to take that and, you know, what else you fall in love with along the way. So I wouldn't worry too much about having to sort it out right now, but you're welcome to talk with us and look at the plan. It's completely fine to just kind of try both classes for now and see what you think.
There's a question about the QR 101 in there. And I just want to be clear that the QR 101 class isn't a natural science. It's a class that will prepare you to take a natural science. So if you were, you know, the goal by the end of that class is that you would be able to get a 53 on the ALEKS exam. Those credits will count towards graduation, but they're not going to fulfill a general education requirement like a natural science course would.
Mm-hmm. Francesca, are you able to answer this question about roommate selection?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find out. Oh, there it is. I would suggest that you email Campus Living. If you did not select a roommate at this time, then we will place you with a roommate. If you're in a group, that means that you likely have more than one roommate, so you're going to be assigned to a triple or a quad.
Someone asked a question about academic accommodations. Do we need to go through re-examining if we were last examined years ago? To be honest, I don't totally know the answer to the question, but I know who you should talk to. So here on the homepage, if you put in Office of Student Accessibility, if I can spell accessibility. And here on the side, undergraduate students, new students, is going to take you to the page about setting up accommodations and meeting with them. So what I have heard from OSA is that starting in mid-August would be a great time to talk about academic accommodations. If you need to talk about housing accommodations, you should contact them now. But if it's more of academic accommodations, it can wait until mid-August. They have a couple staff members that are away for the next month, but they return in mid-August and can help, and you'll see more appointments on the calendar. So yes, we should definitely talk with them about that. And I'm so glad you're asking now because setting it up ahead of time is really helpful. Okay, got that. Okay. Well, there's no questions in the chat right now that are pending. But if you have any or you think of any later, please email us. We'd welcome answering them. Does everybody want to pop back on with their video and wave goodbye? And thank you to Davi and AV for just running everything behind the scenes. You can turn your video on too if you want to. Yay, okay, good. Well, thanks everybody. Again, if you think of something, don't be shy, just write to us. We're here to help.